How fast is the new Ferrari SF-25? Well, the times in Bahrain might have revealed something worrying. Before I tell you, tell me in the comments, do you think Ferrari can challenge for wins this year? Because the data we analyzed today could change everything. Ferrari completed its third day of testing in Bahrain by splitting its program between Charles Leclerc in the morning session and Lewis Hamilton in the afternoon. The SF-25's performance was consistent, but the final times left some doubts about its real competitiveness for the 2025 season. Lewis Hamilton finished in 6th position with a time of 1 minute and 30.345 seconds, 0.800 seconds off the best time of the day, set by George Russell in the Mercedes. Charles Leclerc finished 9th with a time of 1 minute and 30.811 seconds, 1.266 seconds off the reference time. The gap between the two drivers suggests that Ferrari is still evaluating different setups in search of the ideal balance. These times, however, must be viewed with caution. During preseason testing, teams do not often show their true pace, as they may be trying different fuel load levels, aerodynamic setups and tire wear strategies. Ferrari, in particular, appears to have focused its program on data collection rather than the pursuit of fast times. The SF-25's performance on long runs was one of the most scrutinized aspects of the day. Compared to Red Bull and Mercedes, Ferrari showed a stable pace, albeit with somewhere in the final laps of its race simulations. This could be an indication that the team has not yet found the optimal balance in tire management, a key aspect in the development of the season. Another factor to consider is Lewis Hamilton's adaptation to the car. This is his first official test with Ferrari after more than a decade at Mercedes, and although his time was more competitive than Leclerc's, he is still in the process of adjusting to the characteristics of the SF-25. During the first private tests at Fiorano, Hamilton was around 0.8 seconds slower than Leclerc, suggesting that he is still in a learning phase with his new team. The difference in times between the Ferrari drivers and the leaders of the day could also be explained by the evolution of the track. As the day progresses, the asphalt conditions improve and times tend to go down. As Leclerc ran in the morning and Hamilton in the afternoon, a direct comparison between their times cannot be made without considering this factor. One of the most important changes to the SF-25 is its front suspension, which has gone from a pushrod system to a pull rod design. This change seeks to improve stability in corners and optimize the management of aerodynamic flow at the front of the car. However, any such significant modification requires time to optimize, and Ferrari may still be fine-tuning its behavior on track. In terms of reliability, Ferrari completed the day without any serious mechanical issues, which is a positive sign. Unlike previous seasons where tests revealed engine or cooling system failures, the SF-25 has shown solidity in this regard. However, the question remains whether this car will have enough pace to fight with Red Bull and Mercedes in race conditions. The picture after the final day of testing in Bahrain leaves one conclusion clear. Ferrari has built a solid and reliable car, but it still needs to optimize its performance if it wants to be in the fight for the championship. The times recorded do not necessarily reflect the actual hierarchy of the grid, but they do offer indications that the team still has work to do to catch up with the leaders. During the morning session, Charles Leclerc carried out a program of medium and long runs on different tire compounds. One of the most striking aspects of his performance was the variability in lap times, suggesting that Ferrari was experimenting with different fuel load levels and aerodynamic setups. At certain times, his pace was on par with Red Bull and Mercedes, but at others, tire degradation seemed to affect him more than his rivals. The team also spent part of the day evaluating the SF-25's thermal management. During last season's preseason, one of Ferrari's problems was the car's tendency to overheat its rear tires, which affected long-run performance. In Bahrain, it was noted that Ferrari could have improved in this area, with wear on long runs being more progressive compared to what was seen in the previous season. However, there are still questions about how the car will behave on circuits with more extreme temperatures, such as Saudi Arabia or Miami. In the afternoon session, Lewis Hamilton used different engine maps throughout the afternoon. In some sections of the test, he could be seen running with less power, which could indicate that Ferrari was collecting data on fuel efficiency and power delivery in different configurations. He also tried various adjustments to the rear wing settings, which could be related to finding the right balance between top speed and downforce. A key aspect of Ferrari's day was the evaluation of its performance in low-speed corners. Last season, one of the weak points of the SF-23 was traction on the exit of slow corners, which caused the car to lose time on circuits with a lot of hard braking. During the final day in Bahrain, it was noticeable that the SF-25 has improved in this area, especially in the third sector of the circuit, where it achieved competitive times compared to Red Bull and Mercedes. The team also dedicated part of the day to evaluating Lewis Hamilton's integration within Ferrari. There was constant communication between the British driver and the engineers in the garage, with detailed meetings after each stint. Hamilton provided information on the differences in engine response and car behavior compared to his experience at Mercedes, which will be key to future improvements. Another relevant piece of data was the number of laps completed by Ferrari throughout the day. Between Leclerc and Hamilton, the team completed a total of 124 laps, a significant figure indicating an intense testing program without any major mechanical setbacks. This puts Ferrari among the teams with the highest mileage accumulated during testing, suggesting good initial reliability for the SF-25. In terms of race strategy, the team tried various pit stop simulations and tire management. Ferrari was observed to be evaluating how quickly its tires reached optimum temperature after a pit stop, a crucial factor for the early part of races. The trend in previous seasons had been for Ferrari to take longer to warm up its tires compared to Red Bull, which affected the first laps after a stop. Finally, there has been speculation that Ferrari may have been hiding its true performance in testing, a common strategy in pre-season. Even though Leclerc and Hamilton's times were not the fastest, the consistency in long runs and the absence of technical issues could be signs that the SF-25 has room for improvement once the more aggressive engine modes are activated in the race. In conclusion, the final day of testing made it clear that Ferrari has made progress in terms of reliability and handling in slow corners, but still needs to prove that it can match the race pace of its main rivals. The question of its true performance will be cleared up at the first race of the season in Australia, where it will be seen if the SF-25 has what it takes to fight at the top of the grid. Ferrari made a significant technical change to the SF-25 by modifying its front suspension system. For years, the team used the pushrod configuration, a conventional design that offered stability under braking and high-speed corners. However, for the 2025 season, Ferrari has opted for a pull rod system, a choice that has traditionally been characteristic of Red Bull. This change aims to improve control over the car's height and provide a more precise response from the front end, which could translate into better performance in low and medium speed corners. The impact of this modification is still uncertain. On the one hand, Ferrari engineers have worked on a complete redesign of the suspension to make the car more efficient in aerodynamic and mechanical terms. However, such a radical change requires a process of adaptation, and that could explain why the SF-25 has not yet shown a dominant performance in preseason testing. The key will be how the team manages to optimize this system throughout the first races. Another crucial aspect is the behavior of the car in different track conditions. In Bahrain, Ferrari carried out tests both in the morning and in the afternoon to evaluate how the SF-25 responds to changes in temperature and grip levels. In cooler conditions, the car seemed to have good stability in fast corners, but in the afternoon, when the asphalt reached higher temperatures, a slight tendency to oversteer was observed in certain sectors of the circuit. This suggests that Ferrari still needs to find the ideal setting to ensure consistent performance throughout a full race. The comparison between Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton also offers important information about the competitiveness of the SF-25. In the private tests at Fiorano, Hamilton was around 0.8 seconds slower than Leclerc, a difference that was attributed to the British driver's adaptation process. However, in Bahrain, the gap between the two was smaller, indicating that Hamilton is already better understanding the characteristics of the car. This could be key in the internal struggle within the team, since if both drivers manage to extract the maximum performance from the car from the start of the season, Ferrari will have more strategic options in the race. The analysis of the top speed of the SF-25 in Bahrain also leaves some interesting data. On the straights, the Ferrari was not the fastest, but it was not far from Red Bull and Mercedes either. This could be a sign that the team has opted for a balance between straight-line speed and downforce in corners, which could give it an advantage on circuits with technical sectors. However, there are still doubts about its ability to hold its own in wheel-to-wheel duels, especially against teams like Red Bull, who have shown great aerodynamic efficiency in recent years. One of the most scrutinized elements of the SF-25 was its performance on long runs. Ferrari ran several race simulations, and although the pace was stable, at certain moments greater wear was noted on the rear tires compared to Red Bull and Mercedes. This could be an indication that the team still needs to optimize its tire management to avoid excessive degradation in the final laps of each stint. Communication between drivers and engineers was intense throughout the day. Hamilton and Leclerc gave detailed feedback on the car's behavior, and the team was constantly making adjustments to the setup. One of the points that Ferrari was testing was the rear wing configuration, alternating between a version with more downforce and one with less air resistance. These types of tests are key to defining the aerodynamic strategy for the start of the season. Braking stability was another point of interest. In last year's testing, Ferrari struggled with the balance of the car under heavy braking, making corner entry difficult. In Bahrain, an improvement was seen in this area, suggesting that the team has worked on weight distribution and the efficiency of the braking system. However, the real test will come when the car is pushed to its limits in race conditions. The overall picture is that the SF-25 is a car with potential, but still needs fine-tuning to be a solid title contender. Ferrari has improved in terms of reliability and introduced interesting technical changes, but the key will be how they manage to optimize performance in the first few races. Uncertainty over its ability to fight Red Bull and Mercedes remains, and the first qualifying and race sessions in Australia will be crucial to determine whether Ferrari has made the step forward it needs to get back into the championship fight. Ferrari concluded the Bahrain tests with a car that showed reliability and stability, but without enough clarity to confirm whether it will be in the direct fight for the championship. The SF-25 has proven to be a well-built car, with important technical changes such as the new front suspension and an aerodynamic balance that could bear fruit throughout the season. However, the times recorded on the last day leave more questions than answers. One of the main questions is how the car will actually perform in race conditions. During the long runs, Ferrari showed competitive pace, but with certain signs of more pronounced tire wear compared to Red Bull and Mercedes. This aspect will be key in the first race of the season, as tire management can make the difference in strategy and the final result. The Lewis Hamilton factor also adds an extra level of uncertainty. While his adaptation to the SF-25 has been quick, he is still in a phase of adjustment and full understanding of the car. In Bahrain, he showed solid performance and competitive times, but it remains to be seen whether he will be able to fully exploit the car's potential in a real race situation. Charles Leclerc, meanwhile, remains a reference within the team, but the difference between the two during testing suggests that Ferrari could have interesting internal dynamics in the management of its drivers. The context of the preseason also forces us to analyze the results with caution. During testing, teams do not reveal their real performance, as they may be hiding their true potential through high fuel loads or engine map limitations. Ferrari has been a team that in other preseasons has shown competitive times only to be outperformed in the first races. The question is whether they are taking a different approach this time and whether the SF-25 really has the necessary room for improvement to get closer to the leaders. Comparisons with Red Bull and Mercedes remain inevitable. Red Bull has shown a car that, although it did not lead the timesheets on the final day, remains the reference in terms of stability and aerodynamic efficiency. Mercedes, with the best time of the day driven by George Russell, seems to have taken a step forward after seasons of difficulties. Ferrari, on the other hand, has not yet made it clear whether it will be able to fight on equal terms or whether it will remain one step behind its main rivals. The data collected in Bahrain suggests that Ferrari has a solid base to work on, but still needs to fine-tune key details to be able to compete at the top of the grid. The definitive answer will come in Australia, when the teams show their true pace in qualifying and the race. The uncertainty surrounding Ferrari remains open. The SF-25 has left mixed feelings in the Bahrain tests, and the first races of the season will be crucial to clear up any doubts. If the team manages to optimize its performance and improve tire management, it could become a serious contender. However, if the problems with wear and pace on long runs persist, it may have to settle for fighting for podiums rather than wins. Preseason testing has raised a key question. Does Ferrari have the potential to challenge Red Bull and Mercedes, or will it once again remain in the middle of the fight? The season is about to start and the answer will soon be known.